The millionaire followed the young housekeeper after lunch, but he was left speechless, the sound of her heels clicking against the cobblestones of the old downtown street echoing like a relentless hammer under the scorching midday sun. It wasn't a leisurely stroll, it was a forced march. Lucy Marie walked with labored breaths, feeling the white plastic grocery bags digging into her hands, cutting off circulation. She wore her impeccable navy blue uniform with that starched white collar that seemed to choke her in the 86-degree heat. And strangest of all, she still had on those bright yellow rubber gloves clashing violently with the historic charm of the main avenue in downtown Los Angeles. 10 meters behind the imposing figure of Mr. Sebastian Archer moved with the precision of a predator stalking wounded prey. He adjusted the knot of his Italian silk tie, feeling a cold drop of sweat trickle down his back, not from the heat, but from rage. His dark eyes were fixed on those swinging white bags with every step the girl took. He could see the outlines of items through the stretched plastic. Cans, rectangular boxes, glass jars. Thief, Sebastian murmured to himself, gripping his leather briefcase until his knuckles turned white. The indignation burned in his chest hotter than the sun. Sebastian had left his glass skyscraper office early, a rarity in his meticulously scheduled day, only to stumble upon this scene. His housekeeper, whom he'd hired just 3 weeks ago based on her supposed stellar references and humility, was looting his pantry. He was sure of it. That morning, he'd noticed the imported cheese missing the prosciutto that cost more than a laborer's monthly wage and several jars of gourmet preserves. And now here she was, parading the theft in broad daylight with astonishing calm, as if she had every right to take what he'd earned through blood and sacrifice. Lucy Marie paused at a red light. She set one bag down and flexed her aching fingers. Sebastian quickly ducked behind a stone pillar of an antique shop, holding his breath. He watched her wipe her forehead with the back of her gloved hand, leaving a damp streak on the yellow rubber. Her young, beautiful face was tense with effort. Of course it's heavy, Sebastian thought cynically. Greed weighs a lot. The light changed and the crowd surged across. Lucy Marie hoisted the load with a muffled groan lost in the traffic noise and resumed her march. Sebastian emerged from hiding, keeping his distance. His business mind was already drafting her termination. He wouldn't give her a dime. He'd humiliate her, make her empty those bags on the sidewalk for all to see what she was, a thief. Another parasite trying to leech off his success. He hated leeches. He'd built his real estate empire from nothing, burying his own humble origins in an ivory tower, and he wouldn't let some girl in a uniform steal even a crumb of bread from him. The walk continued for several blocks. The shiny tourist area, full of sidewalk cafes and visitors snapping photos of Hollywood stars on the Walk of Fame, began to fade behind them. The perfect clean sidewalk started showing cracks. Trash piled up in the corners. Sebastian frowned. Where was she going? To sell the goods at some flea market. To feed a lazy boyfriend waiting on his couch. The idea disgusted him. He worked 18 hours a day. No one had handed him anything. Seeing her walk with such determination carrying his food felt like a personal insult to his life philosophy. Lucy Marie stumbled slightly on a raised sidewalk tile. One bag bumped her leg and glass clinked. She stopped, dead frightened, frantically checking if anything broke. Sebastian saw the panic in her eyes from afar. It wasn't the panic of losing stolen goods. It was the panic of someone protecting a vital treasure, a medicine, a heart for transplant. The delicacy with which she rearranged the items inside the plastic unsettled him for a millisecond. She treated those jars with odd reverence. "Careful with my money," he whispered, resuming his rigid stance. She kept walking, and he followed, unaware that each meter pulled him farther from his comfort world and dragged him toward a past he'd tried to bury under layers of cash and designer suits. The sun kept beating down, and Sebastian's shadow stretched on the ground, a dark, accusing shadow chasing the girl in blue, determined to unmask a truth he thought he knew.
But dear, unke, he had. You
The urban landscape shifted dramatically, as if they'd crossed an invisible border separating success from failure. The colorful colonial-style facades gave way to exposed brick walls stained with damp and soot. The elegant awnings of coffee shops vanished, replaced by rusted metal sheets rattling in the hot wind. The air no longer smelled of fresh roast coffee and expensive cologne. Now it was thick with reused frying oil dry dust and the unmistakable scent of stagnant poverty. Sebastian Archer felt a tightness in his chest unrelated to his heart issues. It was disgust and memory. He glanced at his Italian leather shoes polished that morning to a mirror shine and saw a thin layer of gray dust dulling their gleam. Each step in this neighborhood dirtied his soul. He hated this place, not this specific Skid Row in LA, but what it represented. Lack, filth, despair. He'd fled a place like this 20 years ago in rural Texas. He'd vowed never to set foot on streets where the asphalt cracked and people stared at the ground. "Why are you bringing me to this dump?" he thought angrily, glaring at Lucy Marie's back. The young housekeeper seemed to move more nimbly now despite fatigue. She knew the terrain. She dodged dirty puddles with instinctive grace, still shielding the bags against her body. Passers-by eyed her curiously, a girl dressed as a maid from a wealthy home, yellow cleaning gloves on, walking like on a sacred mission amid decay. Some men on the sidewalks whistled or catcalled, but she didn't blink. Her focus was absolute. Sebastian slowed to avoid attention. A man in a three-piece suit with an executive briefcase in this hood was a beacon, a shiny target for any mugger. He clutched the briefcase to his ribs, feeling his own vulnerability. "If I get robbed here, it's her fault," he told himself, seeking more reasons for his anger. "She not only steals from me, but exposes me to danger." The logic was absurd. No one forced him to follow, but Sebastian's pride knew no reason. He needed to see the end. He needed to see who she was delivering his goods to. Lucy Marie turned sharply at a corner, entering a narrow alley where sunlight barely penetrated, blocked by laundry dripping from upper balconies onto the street. Sebastian pressed against the wall, feeling the rough, dirty texture against his fine suit jacket. He peeked cautiously. The alley was nearly empty, save for a skinny dog sleeping in the shade of an overflowing dumpster. At the end, before a building that looked bomb-damaged with boarded windows and peeling paint revealing gray concrete, there was a scene that froze time for Sebastian. There was a table, an old wooden table rotted through, one leg shorter than the others, propped up with a brick chunk to keep it steady. It sat there in the middle of nowhere like forgotten furniture dumped on the curb and never reclaimed. But what stunned Sebastian wasn't the table, it was what Lucy Marie did next. She reached the table and dropped the bags with a deep sigh, not of relief but anticipation. With quick, precise movements, she began unpacking. Sebastian squinted, zooming in with his eyes. She wasn't handing food to a dealer, not selling to a neighbor. Lucy Marie pulled out a tablecloth, a small red and white checkered one, worn but incredibly clean and ironed. She spread it over the dirty wood with dignity, unfit for the place, smoothing wrinkles, with her yellow-gloved hands turning that urban trash heap into an improvised dining room. Then she unpacked containers. Sebastian recognized the Tupperware from his own kitchen. He saw her uncover one saffron rice still steaming, another beef stew leftovers from last night's business dinner. She pulled out a bottle of mineral water, paper napkins, and even a small plastic vase with a wildflower she'd probably plucked from a sidewalk crack on the way. What the hell is she doing? Sebastian wondered, utterly baffled. Rage lingered, but now mixed with irritating confusion. Setting up a picnic amid filth. For whom? The young woman glanced at the dark doorway of the ruined building, tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, and smiled. It wasn't the timid, submissive smile she gave him when serving his morning coffee. It was a radiant smile, full of love, one that lit up that gray alley better than the sun that couldn't enter. "I'm here," Lucy Marie called into the darkness. Her voice echoed with joy that seemed offensive in such surroundings. "Lunch is served. Today I brought a feast." Sebastian felt a knot in his stomach. He was about to see the accomplice, the freeloader, exploiting his housekeeper's naivety and his money. He pulled his phone from his jacket pocket, hand slightly shaking with adrenaline. He activated the camera. He'd record everything. He'd have irrefutable proof to crush any excuse she might invent. "Come on out, you rat," he thought, focusing the lens on the black doorway. "Come out so I can see your face while you eat my food." The alley's silence grew heavy. Sebastian expected a young man or perhaps a shady woman, but what emerged from the shadows didn't stride out strongly. First came the shuffle of tired feet, the sound of old fabric dragging on the ground, and a dry, deep cough speaking of years of cold and loneliness. Sebastian kept the phone up, but his brow furrowed more. The figure stepping into light wasn't what he anticipated. It was a small, hunched silhouette, fragile as a dry leaf about to snap. Sebastian Archer pressed against the rough wall of the adjacent building, feeling brick dust stain his $500 jacket sleeve. But right then, his image didn't matter. His attention was captive to the surreal scene unfolding meters away. He zoomed the phone's digital camera to max, steadying his hand on the wall edge so the recording wouldn't shake. He wanted every detail. He wanted resolution so high he could count the rice grains she was stealing. "Let's see where's your buyer," he whispered through gritted teeth, eyes glued to the screen. But Lucy Marie didn't seem to wait for any buyer. Her movements were frantic yet incredibly delicate, imbued with a domestic urgency Sebastian couldn't fit into his crime theory. The young housekeeper pulled a pack of expensive disinfectant wipes from one bag, the brand he imported exclusively for his personal bathroom, and began scrubbing the splintered old table surface with obsessive vigor. She scrubbed until the rotted wood regained lost dignity, stripping layers of urban grime, soot, and street grease. Sebastian felt a stab of disbelief. She was cleaning a street table with his imported wipes. The absurdity nearly drew a bitter laugh from him. Then came the tablecloth. It wasn't just any rag. It was one of his Egyptian cotton kitchen cloths selected by his interior designer. Lucy Marie spread it with reverence, smoothing each corner with her bright, yellow-gloved hands, creating a rectangle of immaculate neatness amid the alley's chaos. On that improvised altar she arranged the loot. Sebastian saw a jar of anchovy-stuffed olives emerge. $10, his financial brain calculated. Then a block of aged manchego cheese she unwrapped carefully, placing it on a plastic plate she'd brought. $30 a pound. Next, a thermal container, surely holding the herb-roasted chicken breast left over from his Sunday lunch. And finally, a bottle of fresh squeezed orange juice from his smart kitchen machines that morning. What infuriated Sebastian most wasn't the monetary value of the food, though that irked him. It was the staging. Lucy Marie wasn't just dumping the food, she was plating it. She pulled out metal cutlery, not plastic but stainless steel, surely from his home, and aligned them perfectly parallel to the plate. She folded a paper napkin into a triangle and set it beside. Even in an act he deemed the height of mockery, she took a small, empty glass jar, filled it with water from her bottle, and placed a yellow wildflower inside. Must have picked it from some asphalt crack and root. "It's a party," Sebastian thought, feeling his temple vein throb painfully. "She's setting up a fine dining spot with my money amid garbage. She's a psycho. She's mocking me, mocking my hard work." The disparity was insulting. There was that table dressed with mansion elegance, surrounded by moldy walls, piled trash, and the rancid city smell of neglect. It was a stolen oasis of civilization. Sebastian was ready to burst from hiding, yell at her, flip that table, expose her farce. He'd seen enough. No boyfriend, no black market sale. It was worse. It was personal enjoyment, unauthorized use of his goods to play house in hell. But just as he was about to step out, finger raised in accusation, a metallic sound halted him. The creak of a rusted door dragging on concrete. Sebastian froze and glanced back at his phone screen. The ruined building's door, that black toothless maw seeming to lead nowhere, swung fully open. Lucy Marie changed instantly. Her posture, until then efficient and focused, softened. Her shoulders dropped, her face lit with a sweetness Sebastian had never seen at home. She quickly peeled off the yellow gloves, pocketing them in her apron, as if wanting skin-to-skin touch, no rubber barriers. "The guest of honor is here," Sebastian muttered sarcastically, expecting some friend of the young woman's, maybe another housekeeper coming for the free feast. But the figure emerging from darkness lacked Lucy's youth and strength. Sebastian squinted against the sun, glaring off the pavement, struggling to focus the camera image. What he saw stirred an odd sensation, a mix of instinctive repulsion and morbid curiosity that kept him rooted. The woman who stepped out was a specter, an elderly lady of tiny stature bent by the invisible weight of years and a hard life. She wore a gray dress, 3 sizes too big, cinched at the waist with rope to hold it up. Her hair was a tangle of white and gray strands pulled into a messy bun, revealing a thin, veiny neck. She walked slowly, dragging old men's shoes without laces that clacked against the ground with each hesitant step. Sebastian zoomed in on the screen. Her hands were gnarled, perhaps arthritic, with skin thin as rice paper spotted by time and weather. Lucy Marie didn't wait. She rushed the 2 meters separating them and took the woman's arm with extreme gentleness, as if handling cracked porcelain. "Watch the step, my queen." Lucy Marie's voice carried clearly to Sebastian. It was sing-song, filled with genuine affection that turned his stomach. "My queen," to that vagrant. The elderly woman looked up at the young one, and though Sebastian couldn't see her eyes clearly from distance, he saw her face transform. The mask of pain and fatigue cracked, giving way to a toothless, trembling smile. "Lucy, my dear, you came." The old woman's voice was a raspy whisper, like dry leaves being crushed. "I dreamed you got fired." "Fire me? Never." Lucy Marie let out a laugh too loud for the alley, a laugh designed to scare away the old woman's fears. "I'm indispensable, Grandma. Besides, the boss, Mr. Archer, he's so busy he doesn't even notice if I'm there or not. But look what I brought today." Sebastian felt the sting of his name mentioned. "He doesn't even notice if I'm there or not." The phrase hurt his pride more than expected. But his attention returned to the scene. Lucy Marie guided the elderly woman to the wooden chair facing the table. Before she sat, Lucy pulled a small cushion, the velvet one from the living room, and placed it on the hard wood. "Sit slowly, that's it." Lucy settled her, ensuring comfort. Then she unfolded the paper napkin and placed it on the lap of the woman's dirty dress. The woman looked at the set table, her eyes filling with tears. She gazed at the cheese olives chicken. Her hands shook so much she clasped them on the table to steady them. "It's too much, child." "This is rich people's food," the elderly woman murmured, afraid to touch the plate. "Are you sure you won't get in trouble? I don't want you losing your job over this useless old lady." "You're not useless, and this food—" Lucy Marie hesitated a second, and Sebastian saw the lie form in her posture. "This food was a gift from Mr. Sebastian. He said, 'Lucy, take this to that grandma you told me about. Let her enjoy it.' He's very generous, though he doesn't seem like it." Sebastian felt the air escape his lungs. Liar. She was using his name to sanctify her theft. The girl's audacity was boundless. She was painting him as a saintly benefactor to a stranger, using his stolen food to build a fantasy. "God bless that man," the elderly woman said, crossing herself with difficulty. "God bless him and multiply all he has. I wish my son had been that good." Sebastian felt a chill run down his spine, an electric, unpleasant sensation. The mention of the woman's son hung in the heavy alley air. Lucy Marie cut a piece of chicken and brought it to the elderly woman's mouth with the fork, like feeding a small child. The woman opened her mouth and ate. She chewed slowly, savoring, closing her eyes again. A solitary tear rolled down her dirty cheek, carving a clean path in the grayish skin. "It's delicious. I'm just an old lady. It tastes like glory." Sebastian slowly lowered the phone. He wasn't recording anymore. His fingers had gone numb. The image of the young housekeeper in her spotless uniform feeding the homeless elderly woman with his silverware was visually devastating. The contrast was brutal. Youth and age, cleanliness and dirt, life and decay unite D by a stainless steel fork and a stolen piece of chicken. He'd expected money, a sordid exchange vice, but all he saw was a transaction of pure humanity. So raw, it hurt to watch for a man who'd monetized every minute of his existence. Who is that woman? Sebastian wondered, feeling his moral certainty waver. The elderly woman had something familiar in her gestures and how she tilted her head while eating a shadow of a memory he couldn't grasp. Maybe it was just that misery looks the same everywhere. Maybe she reminded him of people from his old Texas neighborhood, those ghosts he'd exorcised with checks and distance. Lucy Marie wiped the corner of the elderly woman's lips with the napkin with a tenderness Sebastian hadn't received from anyone in years, not from his ex-wives, not his partners, not his distant kids. The young woman spoke softly to her, telling things he couldn't hear, and the elderly woman laughed gently. A rusty laugh that gradually smoothed with food and company. Sebastian felt like an intruder, a voyeur of a sacred moment, but suspicion that old paranoid friend of the millionaire whispered in his ear again. She's probably her grandma, and keeps her like this for pity or charges her later. No one does this for free. He needed to get closer, needed to see the woman's face up close, burst that bubble of supposed sanctity and find the crack. The flaw, the scam. He pocketed his phone, adjusted his jacket, and stepped out from behind the pillar. His footsteps echoed in the alley, breaking the spell. Clack, 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 the sound of $500 shoes on poor folks' ground. Lucy Marie froze fork midway. The elderly woman stopped chewing. Both turned toward the dark figure approaching, backlight silhouetted against the bright alley entrance, sun like an avenging angel or a debt-collecting demon. The sound of Sebastian's Italian leather shoes rang like dry gunshots in the alley's sudden silence. Clack, clack, clack. Each step kicked up a small gray dust cloud as if trying to soil his perfect pants. But he didn't look down. His eyes, dark and loaded with cold fury, mutating into something more unsettling, were fixed on the old table. The distance shrank, and with it the air grew thicker, harder to breathe. Lucy Marie reacted like a cornered lioness. She jumped up, knocking back the plastic chair with a dull thud. Her slight body immediately blocked the suited man from the seated elderly woman, arms extended as if to shield the view. Her face, once lit with tenderness, now a mask of absolute terror. She knew what that look on Mr. Sebastian's face meant. It meant firing police, the end. "Mr. Archer, please." Her voice came out strangled, a desperate whisper bouncing off damp walls. "It's not what it looks like. Let me explain. I swear I'll pay for everything. Deduct it from my pay. I'll work overtime, anything, but please don't make a scene here." Sebastian didn't stop, didn't even look at her. To him in that instant, Lucy Marie was transparent, an annoying ghost buzzing in the air. His attention was magnetized, drawn by irresistible gravity to the small, shrunken figure remaining seated behind the girl's futile protection. The elderly woman scared by Lucy's sudden move, and the imposing presence dropped her fork. Metal clanged sharply on the ceramic plate. She lowered her head, hunching her shoulders, a habit from years of making herself invisible to survive on the streets. She trembled. Her gnarled hands clutched the checkered tablecloth edge like a lifeline in a shipwreck. Sebastian reached the edge of the improvised VIP zone in the trash. He stopped less than a meter away. His shadow, elongated by the overhead sun, fell directly on the table, darkening the food plate and the woman's face. "Move aside," Sebastian ordered. His voice wasn't the authoritarian shout Lucy expected. It sounded hollow, hoarse, as if from a deep well. "Sir, she's not to blame. It's me who—" Lucy insisted, tears welling, not budging an inch. "I said, move aside." He roared the echo startling pigeons on rooftops into flight. Lucy Marie, trembling, stepped aside, defeated, head down, bracing for the worst, clearing the view. Now, no barriers. Sebastian Archer, the real estate magnate who bought buildings without glancing at prices, stood before a vagrant smelling of ancient damp and stored clothes. He looked down from his height, from his superiority, seeking confirmation of his contempt. Seeking the face of a con artist, a nobody. The elderly woman, feeling the gaze's weight, slowly raised her face. The movement was painful, accompanied by creaking, tired vertebrae. She squinted, trying to focus the dark figure blocking the sun. Light filtered around Sebastian, creating a halo, making him seem divine or demonic, undecipherable to her cataract-clouded eyes. Sebastian felt the world stop. Distant city noise faded. His heart, racing with anger seconds ago, flipped violently and seemed to halt entirely. He saw her, saw the deep furrows crossing that forehead like cracks in dry earth, saw the leathery sun-spotted skin, but it wasn't that which stole his breath. It was the scar, a small white line, almost invisible among wrinkles cutting her left eyebrow, an old scar from over 40 years ago. Sebastian felt a vivid memory flash that nearly dizzied him. A humble kitchen, a small boy playing with a wooden stick, an accidental hit, blood. The boy's cry and the mother rushing not to scold but to kiss his wound, consoling him while she bled from the blow her drunken husband had given the night before. The scar. His eyes dropped to the hand still clutching the tablecloth. The right pinky finger was slightly crooked inward, a poorly healed fracture from when she washed laundry in the river to pay for her son's schooling. Sebastian's leather briefcase slipped from his fingers. No conscious decision to drop it. His hands simply lost all strength, all brain connection. The briefcase hit the sturdy ground with a thud, raising dust, but Sebastian didn't blink. "No." The whisper escaped his lips. A broken, incredulous sound. Lucy Marie glanced at the boss, confused by the sudden change. She saw color drain from Sebastian's face, leaving him pale, almost gray. His eyes bulged, fixed on the old woman with an expression not of disgust or hate, but horror. It was recognition of a nightmare made flesh. The elderly woman, oblivious to the man's inner turmoil, smiled timidly, showing gums missing several teeth. "Good afternoon, sir," she said in that raspy voice that thundered to Sebastian. "Forgive me, I didn't mean to bother. The girl Lucy is so good. She just wanted this old lady to have something hot. Don't scold her, please. It's my fault for being hungry." Each word was a stab. "It's my fault for being hungry." The phrase pierced Sebastian's chest through the silk suit brand shirt and cold armor he'd built over 15 years. Sebastian staggered back as if physically punched in the solar plexus. He covered his mouth, stifling a groan. His rational mind, that perfect calculator never failing, collapsed. Trying to add 2 + 2 yielded impossible. "Mom." The word formed in his mind but stuck in his throat, blocked by a knot of shame and panic. It couldn't be. He'd left her in the small Texas town. He'd sent money. Well, sent money the first 2 years. Then, letters returned, he changed addresses. Then he told himself she was fine, the money he'd left would last. He convinced himself she preferred her simple life. He invented a reality where she lived peacefully in her little house with a garden. But reality was here, seated on a stolen chair, eating his leftovers. His mother, Mrs. Agnes Archer, the woman who'd sold her own shoes to buy him his first math book. The woman who'd slept on the floor so he could have the bed was here, turned into urban wreckage fed by his own housekeeper's charity. The revelation wasn't light. It was sudden darkness enveloping everything. Sebastian felt smaller than the dust under his soles. Time in the alley seemed liquefied, thick and slow. Sebastian stared at the woman, and overlaid on the homeless elder's image, past flashes hit him violently. He remembered his departure day, the dusty bus station in rural Texas, smelling of diesel and goodbyes. He was 25, full of ambition and arrogance, carrying a cheap suitcase and an ill-fitting suit. "Don't cry, Mom. I'm going to conquer the world. I'll come back a king and give you a palace. You'll see. Don't look for me. I'll find you when I succeed." That was his promise and his sentence. "Don't look for me." And she, obedient as always, didn't. She waited while he got rich in L.A., waited while he married a society woman who despised his humble origins, waited while he erased his accent, his customs, and finally his name from public life. Sebastian Archer had no mother. He was self-made. "Sir, are you okay?" Lucy Marie's voice broke his trance momentarily. The girl looked at him with genuine concern, forgetting her own firing fear. The man was pale, cold, sweating gaze lost in void. Sebastian didn't answer. He couldn't tear his eyes from his mother's feet. Those men's shoes, old, deformed. He remembered her feet from childhood, small, agile, always bustling around the house. Now swollen, wrapped in dirty rags peeking from the shoe edges. The elderly woman, sensing the elegant man's distress, tried consoling him, misinterpreting his silence. "If it bothers you, I'm here. I'll go, sir," said Mrs. Agnes, bracing hands on the table to push up. The effort drew a pained groan that sounded to Sebastian like a breaking bone. "Don't be mad at the girl. She told me you're a good man, a saint." Sebastian felt like vomiting. The irony was corrosive acid. A saint, he thought bitterly. "I'm a demon. I'm the worst monster. Sit down, Grandma, please." Lucy Marie intervened, quickly, gently pushing her back into the chair. Then she looked pleadingly at Sebastian. "Sir, she's Mrs. Agnes. She lives, sleeps at the shelter on Skid Row, but sometimes no beds, so she stays around here. I bring her leftovers. She reminds me of my own grandma who passed. She doesn't hurt anyone." Mrs. Agnes smiled again, a sad smile lighting her dirty face. "This girl is an angel, and you must be one too, sir, for letting her give me this feast." The elderly woman paused, her gaze lost momentarily in the alley's brick horizon, her voice dropping to confidential. "You know, my son was elegant like that too." "Well, he wanted to be." Sebastian felt the ground open under him. He swallowed a painful dry lump. Your son," he managed to ask. It was the first time he spoke directly to the woman. His voice sounded strange, unrecognizable to his own ears. "Yes, my Seb," she said, and the childish diminutive whipped him. "He left long ago for the big city to make it. He was so smart, my boy, the smartest in school. Always said he'd build buildings touching the sky." Lucy Marie watched the scene, fascinated and confused. She'd never seen her boss interact like this with anyone, let alone a street person. There was electric tension, a vibration in the air she couldn't decipher. "And why isn't he taking care of you?" Sebastian asked. The question was pure masochism. He needed to hear his own condemnation. Needed her to say he was a bad son, that she hated him, that he'd abandoned her. Mrs. Agnes sighed, a long, trembling sound. She shook her head gently. "Oh, don't think badly of him, sir. He must be very busy. Important men have a lot on their minds. He probably lost my address when they evicted me from the little house back in Texas." Or maybe her voice cracked a bit, but she recovered fast with a forced smile of maternal pride. "Maybe he's traveling the world. He promised he'd return like a king, and kings don't have time for old ladies like me. I just pray he's okay, that he eats warm like I'm eating now, thanks to you." Sebastian squeezed his eyes shut, feeling hot, painful tears build behind tight lids. There was no hate in her, no resentment, just blind faith and unbreakable love justifying the unjustifiable. She'd made excuses for him for years, slept on streets, endured cold, hunger, humiliations. And still her only worry was that her Seb was okay. He had 3 mansions, a fleet of cars, threw away food costing more than she'd need for a month. And she was here thanking crumbs, believing they came from a stranger's generosity, unaware they were scraps from her own son's opulence. The magnitude of his sin was so vast it didn't fit in that alley. Sebastian opened his eyes, looked at his hands, those manicured hands signing million-dollar deals. Suddenly they seemed a thief's hands. He'd stolen his mother's life to build his. "Sir." Lucy Marie stepped toward him, alarmed. Sebastian was visibly shaking now, his breathing ragged. "Mrs. Agnes," he said, voice broken. He stepped closer to the table, ignoring dirt protocol, everything he'd been for 20 years. "That son of yours, that Sebastian." The elderly woman looked at him curiously, tilting her head. "Do you know him, sir? Do you know my son?" she asked, with sudden hope sparkling in her dull eyes, a spark of life that hurt to see. Sebastian felt himself crumble. The iron mask melted. He couldn't sustain the lie another second. The Mr. Archer died that instant in that dirty alley. Only the boy remained who'd left promising a palace and delivered forgetfulness. Yes, Sebastian whispered, falling to his knees. His $1,000 pants hit the filthy ground, soaking up dirty water and dust. He didn't care. He knelt before her like a penitent at an altar. Level with her eyes, level with her misery. Yes, I know him. He's an idiot. He's the poorest man in the world despite money. Lucy Marie clapped hands over her mouth, stifling a cry. Her eyes darted from the kneeling boss to the confused elderly woman. The connection clicked like lightning. The nose-shaped chin curve family heir neither money nor poverty could erase. Mrs. Agnes frowned, confused, leaning her face toward his. Her trembling hands rose instinctively as if recognizing that face's outline before her mind did. "Why say that, sir?" she whispered, fear mixing with hope. "Who are you?" Sebastian raised his gaze, face streaked with tears, ruining his steelman image forever. "Look at me closely, Mom. Look in my eyes. Don't see the suit. See me." The elderly woman's hand touched Sebastian's cheek, rough skin against smooth. The contact was electric. Mrs. Agnes gasped as if airless. Her fingers traced the face, recognizing the bone structure she'd formed. "Seb?" she asked in a threadbare voice so fragile it might break with wind. "My boy?" Sebastian's choked scream, hearing his name on his mother's lips, wasn't human. It was a wounded animal's sound tearing the alley's heavy atmosphere and seeming to stop time. "Yes, Mom, it's me. It's Seb," he sobbed, collapsing completely. Nothing left of the real estate tycoon who'd fired a manager that morning for a 2% calculation error. There, kneeling on filthy ground, hugging the waist of a woman smelling of weather, Sebastian was just a scared, guilty child. Mrs. Agnes blinked, her milky eyes filling with tears, overflowing tired lids. Her hands, caressing his face in disbelief seconds ago, now clutched his jacket. Fabric with surprising strength, as if fearing a hunger or heat-induced hallucination. One of those cruel visions she sometimes had in feverish nights under bridges. "My son! It's my son!" she cried, looking at Lucy Marie with frantic, almost painful joy. "See, child, I told you he'd come. I told you he hadn't forgotten. It's my Seb." Lucy Marie couldn't move. She was paralyzed, hands pressed to her mouth, feeling hot tears stream down her cheeks. The scene was so devastating, so intimate and brutal, she felt she should look away, but couldn't. Seeing the most arrogant man she'd known, the man who forbade her singing while cleaning, reduced to a sobbing bundle at the feet of the woman eating his leftovers. It rewrote all her universe's laws. Sebastian buried his face in his mother's lap. The dress fabric was rough, dirty, stiff with accumulated grime, but to him, then, it was the world's finest silk. He smelled it, not the lavender and soap scent from childhood. It was sour mix of rancid sweat, urban trash, and illness. That smell hit his nose and went straight to his brain, acting like acid, dissolving his justifications. Every time he'd dined at Michelin-starred restaurants, his mother had endured this. Every time he'd complained his Bentley's AC didn't cool enough, his mother had suffered this infernal heat without shelter. Every time he slept on 800 thread-count sheets, she'd been on cardboard wrapped in these rags. The guilt hit with freight train force. Not just remorse, a physical, violent nausea. He wanted to rip off his skin, shed the suit, strip everything he'd gained, because now he knew his success's true price. His mother's life. "Forgive me, old lady. Forgive me, please," Sebastian repeated, voice muffled by the elderly woman's skirt. "I'm trash. I left you alone. I forgot. I got drunk on money and forgot who I was." Mrs. Agnes, far from reproaching, began stroking his gelled hair, messing it, breaking his salon-perfect style. "Shh, my boy, shh," she cooed in her cracked but infinitely tender voice. "Don't say that. You're not trash. You're my prince. I knew you were busy. The world is big and hard. I know. What's important is you're here. You came." His mother's absolution was worse than any condemnation. If she'd yelled, "Hit him," he'd feel he'd paid some debt. But this unconditional love, forgiving 15 years of abandonment in a second, made him feel even more unworthy. She didn't see the monster. She only saw the loved child. Lucy Marie took a timid step toward them. Felt she should do something, but the space between mother and son seemed sacred, inviolable. Yet her practical instinct, the tea letting her survive day-to-day, activated, seeing Mrs. Agnes's state. The elderly woman was pale, the emotion too much for her weakened heart. "Sir," Lucy Marie whispered shakily. "Mr. Sebastian, she needs water. She's getting very pale." Sebastian snapped his head up, eyes red and swollen face smeared with tears and dirt. He looked at his mother and saw what emotion had blinded him to it first. The tremor in her lips, cold sweat on her forehead, her neck's thinness where skin hung loose over tendon cords. "Mom?" he asked, panic clawing his throat. "Are you okay? What hurts?" "I'm fine, my love." "I'm fine," Agnes murmured, but her voice faded, eyelids heavy. The reunion's euphoria was burning her last energy reserves. "It's just, I'm so happy my heart's galloping like a runaway horse." Sebastian jumped up, staggering a bit. Reality hit. They were in a filthy alley. His mother, sick, malnourished, possibly dying slowly before his eyes, and he was wasting time crying instead of acting. "Lucy!" he shouted, turning to the housekeeper. No longer a tyrant's shout, but a desperate man's plea for help. "Help me! We have to get her out of here now, right now. Lucy." Marie nodded vigorously, wiping tears with her hand back. "Yes, sir." "The car? Where'd you park your car?" "It's 5 blocks away, in the hotel lot." Sebastian scanned desperately. 5 blocks. In this sun, his mother wouldn't last half a block walking. She can't walk. Look at her. Her legs, her shoes. He glanced again at the old men's shoes on his mother's feet. They were a hard leather prison for feet surely full of sores. Sebastian felt new fury this time at the world fate every person passing this alley without helping his mother, but mostly at himself. "I'm calling an ambulance," Sebastian said, fumbling for his phone. "I'll call the best hospital, a helicopter if needed." Marie stepped forward and in a gesture she'd never dare in the mansion, placed her hand on the millionaire's wrist, stopping him. "No, sir," she exclaimed firmly. Sebastian stared, stunned by the interruption. "What do you mean she needs a doctor?" "If you bring an ambulance here with sirens and commotion, you'll scare her, Lucy," Marie explained, quickly glancing at Mrs. Agnes dozing in the chair. "Look at her, she's fragile. If strangers in white haul her on a stretcher, she'll think they're taking her to a nursing home or locking her up. She fears public hospitals, sir. She always tells me that's where people go to die alone." Sebastian paused, finger frozen on the phone screen. He looked at his mother, so small, so defenseless. Lucy was right. He wanted to fix it his way with money, noise, business efficiency. But this wasn't a deal. It was a human crisis. "Then what do we do?" Sebastian asked, and for the first time ceded control to someone he considered inferior. "How do I get her out?" "You're going to carry her," Lucy Marie said with calm authority from her kind soul. "You have strength. Pick her up like a child. I'll carry the things. We'll walk to the avenue and hail a cab or get to your car, but slowly talking to her. Let her feel it's you carrying her, not a stranger." Sebastian looked at the girl in blue uniform. An hour ago, he wanted to fire her for thieving. Now she taught him how to be a son. He nodded, swallowing pride doubts. "Okay," he said. "Okay." Sebastian approached the chair again. He shed his suit jacket, an exclusive designer piece, and gently draped it over his mother's bony shoulders. The contrast was grotesque and beautiful fine dark fabric covering the gray-stained dress. Mrs. Agnes opened her eyes and touched the silk lapel. "So soft," she murmured. "Smells like you, Seb." "We're going home, Mom," he said, bending. "Hold my neck." Sebastian slid one arm under his mother's legs, the other behind her back. He braced to lift, expecting substantial weight in adults. But as he stood, he nearly lost balance from overexertion. She weighed nothing, like lifting dry branches wrapped in cloth. She was so light, Sebastian felt cold horror down his spine. Less than his 10-year-old daughter. Less than suitcases from business trips. That non-weight was physical, tangible, undeniable evidence of chronic hunger days without food, shivering nights. Mrs. Agnes giggled weakly, surprised to be airborne. "Oh, my boy, what strength!" she exclaimed, clinging to his white shirt, soiling it with her dirty hands dusty from the alley. "Are you carrying me like when we played airplane? Remember?" "Yes, Mom," Sebastian replied, voice strangled, pressing her to his chest as if to fuse her with him, transfer his vitality by osmosis. Lucy Marie began swiftly packing the table. She stowed Tupperware cutlery tablecloth, left nothing. She knew for street survivors every item, every crumb was treasure not to abandon. "Wait, sir," Lucy said, seeing Sebastian start toward the alley exit. She ran to the corner where a bundle of black plastic bags tied with ropes sat. Her things. She won't leave without her things. Sebastian stopped and eyed the trash bags. "Lucy, forget that. I'll buy her everything new. I'll buy her the whole world. That's garbage." "To you, it's garbage, sir," Lucy Marie retorted with a stern look that silenced him instantly. "To her, it's her life. There are her photos, memories, maybe a letter you sent 20 years ago. If we take that away, we take her identity." Sebastian looked at his mother's face. She eyed the black bags, anxiously craning from his arms. My little things, Seb, my little things, she whined. Sebastian closed his eyes and nodded, defeated by the housekeeper's wisdom. Bring them, Lucy, bring them all. Lucy Marie hefted the grocery bags in one hand and dragged the treasure bundle with the other. And so began the strangest procession that city had seen. They exited the dark alley into the blinding avenue light. The image was striking. A businessman with white shirt stained by earth and tears carrying a homeless elderly woman wrapped in a luxury jacket. Behind a housekeeper in spotless uniform lugging trash bags and banquet remnants. People on the street stopped. Tourists lowered cameras. Executives leaving lunch quit talking on cells. A silence of curiosity and judgment fell. Looks of disgust, confusion contained mockery. Sebastian felt the stares pierce him. Another time, he'd feel shame. He'd yell, "What are you looking at?" or try hiding. His reputation untouchable man image crumbled live before the society he strived to impress. But as he walked, feeling his mother's weak heartbeat against his chest, something broke definitively inside him. Shame transformed into something hard solid. Dignity. He raised his chin, quickened pace, locked eyes with a group of suited men eyeing him disdainfully from a cafe terrace. Held one rival's gaze until the other looked away, intimidated by the ferocity burning in Sebastian's eyes. I don't care, Sebastian thought. They can stare all they want. This is my mother, and I'm taking her home. Are you tired, son? Mrs. Agnes asked, noting his jaw tension. I weigh a lot, right? Put me down here. I can walk a little. You weigh nothing, Mom. Light as a feather, he replied, kissing her dirty forehead, uncaring who saw. And you'll never walk alone again. Never. Lucy Marie walked beside, struggling with bag weight but heart swollen with pride, not for the boss but for divine justice she witnessed. She'd prayed for this elderly woman, asked for a miracle, and God sent a twisted, strange one, but a miracle nonetheless. They reached the major avenue traffic light. Sebastian's car was far. A cab stopped at Lucy Marie's hail, but seeing the elderly woman's look, sped off, refusing vagrants. Sebastian cursed. I'll buy that cab company and fire him, he raged impotently. Calm down, sir, Lucy said, spotting another vehicle. But this wasn't a cab. It was a black luxury limo crawling through traffic. The rear window lowered, a familiar face peered out. It was Sebastian's partner, Mr. Montgomery, superficial and critical. Archer? Montgomery asked, scanning the scene with horror grimace. What the hell happened? Get mugged. Who's that thing you're carrying? The world stopped again. Sebastian looked at his partner, looked at his mother shrinking in his arms at the derisive tone trying to vanish. The word thing echoed in the air. Sebastian walked to the limo's window, leaned in, bringing his mother close for Montgomery to see clearly. This thing, Montgomery, Sebastian said in a voice so cold and sharp it could scratch the armored glass, is my mother, Mrs. Agnes Archer, and she has more dignity in her broken pinky than you and your whole family in 100 generations. Montgomery's face went white. I didn't know. Sorry, Sebastian. Get lost, Sebastian ordered, before I forget we're partners and rip your head off. The limo accelerated into traffic. Sebastian turned to Lucy Marie, breathing heavily. We don't need anyone. We'll walk. We'll walk all the way home if needed. But they didn't need to walk much further. A modest car, an old family sedan, pulled up beside. A young man in work clothes lowered the window. Sir, excuse me, I saw you from back there. Looks like an emergency. Want a lift somewhere? No AC, but the car runs. Sebastian looked at the man. No suit, no luxury car. He had kindness. Yes, Sebastian said with humility of life defeated. Please take us to the Central Hospital, the best suite they have. As Lucy Marie opened the rear door and helped settle Mrs. Agnes on the worn seat, Sebastian realized another painful truth. For years he'd sought elite surroundings, but true elite, worthwhile people were like Lucy Marie, and this anonymous driver helping without questions. The car started. Sebastian sat back holding his mother's hand the whole way. Lucy Marie up front directing the driver. In the rear view, the young woman saw something unforgettable. The great Sebastian Archer Iron Man resting his head on the fragile elderly woman's shoulder, closing eyes, letting himself be consoled by the woman he should have protected. It's over, my boy, it's over, Agnes whispered, stroking the expensive suit's stained fabric. We're together now. Sebastian didn't reply, just squeezed the bone and skin hand, vowing every remaining second and cent to erase pain from those eyes. But he knew, with deep terror, money doesn't heal the past. and the redemption battle had just begun. The old sedan stopped with a squeal of worn brakes at the main entrance of St. Michael's Clinic, the city's most exclusive medical center. A glass and steel building gleaming under afternoon sun like an unattainable jewel. Sebastian Archer had donated the cardiology wing 3 years ago, a tax maneuver earning him a bronze plaque in the lobby. Now he returned not as arrogant benefactor cutting red ribbons, but as terrified son carrying his negligence's weight in the back seat. "Thanks, friend. Take this," Sebastian said, pulling his leather wallet and emptying it blindly. High-denomination bills fell on the driver's seat. "It's all my cash. Not enough, I know, but thanks for not judging." The driver, a simple man with grease-stained hands, eyed the money wide-eyed, but then looked at the elderly woman dozing against the millionaire's chest. "Take care of her, sir. Mothers are on loan," the man said, refusing half the bills and returning them. "Use this for meds. God help you." Sebastian felt a throat lump, another humility blow. He exited the car, helped by Lucy Marie, who'd opened the door again, lifting his mother. The temperature shift was brutal, from stifling no AC car heat to the clinic's controlled chill. Automatic doors slid with a pneumatic whisper. The lobby smelled of synthetic clean and money. Marble floors so polished they reflected figures like a water mirror. When Sebastian entered in his alley-dirtied suit hair mussed, carrying a woman seeming a corpse wrapped in rags, the waiting room silence was total. Sir, you can't come in here," a security guard yelled, hand on belt. "This is a private clinic. Service entrance for indigents is around back." Sebastian didn't stop. Walked straight to reception steps, echoing with authority his soiled clothes couldn't hide. "Move," he growled without glancing at the guard. The receptionist, young woman with perfect manicure and poorly hidden disgust, rose from her ergonomic chair. "Sir, please remove that person immediately. She's soiling the floor and disturbing patients. If you need charity, there's a public hospital 6 miles away." Sebastian reached the counter. One hand cradled his mother to his chest protectively like glass. The other slammed the marble surface so hard the computer monitor shook. "I'm Sebastian Archer," he roared, voice bouncing off double-height walls. "I own the company that built this damn building. That bronze plaque on the wall has my name, and this woman soiling your precious floor is my mother. I want the CEO here in 30 seconds, or I swear to God I'll buy this hospital tomorrow just to fire you all." The receptionist paled, gaping fish-like. The guard backed off belatedly, recognizing the face from business magazines adorning the waiting room. "Mr. Archer, we didn't know," the woman stammered frantically, typing to call admin. "I don't want excuses, I want a gurney. I want the best doctors." "Now," Sebastian shouted, feeling his mother stir uneasily in his arms from the noise. He immediately lowered his voice lips to her dirty ear. "Sorry, Mom. Sorry for the noise. They're idiots. They'll treat you soon. You'll be in a feather bed, I promise." Lucy Marie watched from behind, lugging black plastic bags with the elderly woman's belongings. She felt small in that luxury place, but seeing Sebastian defend his mother with lion ferocity, she felt new admiration. Money hadn't taken his soul, just slept it, and now it was awake, roaring. A team of nurses and doctors appeared running down the hall, pushing a state-of-the-art gurney. The hospital director, Dr. Jar. Valdez came adjusting his coat with panic face. "Don Sebastian, 1,000 apologies, it was a protocol error. Please let us—" Sebastian laid his mother on the gurney with infinite gentleness. As white-starched sheets touched Mrs. Agnes's grayish skin and dirty clothes, the contrast hurt. Poverty's stain spread on wealth's sterile silver white. "Don't treat her like a patient," Sebastian ordered, grabbing the doctor's lapel. "Treat her like the Queen of England. If she hurts, you'll hurt. Understood?" "Yes, sir. We'll do everything possible, but we need to take her to triage for decontamination and assessment." The doctor began eyeing the dirt and possible parasites with apprehension. "I'll go with her," Sebastian said. "And me too," Lucy Marie added, stepping forward. "She won't let strangers bathe her. She gets scared. I'll do it." The doctor looked at Lucy Marie, then Sebastian. The millionaire nodded. "She comes with us. She calls the shots. What Lucy Marie says is law." They took Mrs. Agnes to the presidential suite, a room more luxury apartment than hospital quarters. It had city views, leather sofas, marble-finished bath, but none mattered. Only the shower did. Lucy Marie prepared the water. Sebastian stayed at the bathroom door, unable to fully enter, respecting his mother's modesty, but unable to leave. He heard water running, heard Lucy Marie speaking softly. "Let's get this ugly dress off, Grandma. We'll put on a soft robe. The water's warm like you like. Sebastian saw through the ajar door how Lucy Marie cut the old clothes stuck to his mother's skin by grime and sweat with scissors. When the fabric fell, Sebastian turned away, covering his mouth not to scream. His mother's back was a suffering map, ribs marked under translucent skin like cage bars, sores on shoulders and hips from hard surface sleeping. Bruises in various healing stages spotted her thin arms and the dirt layers of accumulated soil washing black with water and soap. Lucy Marie, with expert, loving hands, soaped that fragile skin. No gloves. She touched wounds, cleaned filth with bare fingers without disgust, with sacred reverence. It was a purification ritual, washing Sebastian's sins with each sponge pass. "Water okay, my queen?" Lucy asked. "Yes, child, so nice. Haven't felt hot water in years," Agnes replied weakly, shivering with pleasure and weakness. "Smells like flowers." Sebastian leaned on the doorframe, crying silently. He looked at his hands. He could buy the whole hospital, but lacked courage and kindness for what Lucy Marie did. He was the son, but she, the housekeeper he'd nearly fired, was acting as daughter. That 22-year-old in wet blue uniform and stained apron was giantier than any skyscraper he'd built. When done, Lucy Marie wrapped the elderly woman in white fluffy towels, combed, carefully untangling gray tangle, removing dirt until Mrs. Agnes's hair shone like old but clean silver. They wheeled her from bath to bed. No longer a vagrant, she seemed an elderly child, small, clean, vulnerable. In an Egyptian cotton hospital gown, Sebastian approached, knelt before the wheelchair before bed transfer. "You look beautiful, Mom," he said, voice cracked. Agnes raised a now clean hand, smelling of neutral soap, touched her son's cheek. "You look handsome too, my Seb, though you need a shave and that shirt's dirty." "Did you fall?" Sebastian laughed bitterly through tears. "Yes, Mom, I fell. Fell real low, but you lifted me." They moved her to bed. Mattress, soft sheets, fresh, Mrs. Agnes sighed, feeling comfort sinking her head in the pillow with incredulity as if fearing wake-up unusual cardboard under the freeway overpass. Dr. Valdez entered with specialists. His attitude changed. No serval panic, but worrying professional gravity. He held a digital folder, eyeing monitors now wired to the fragile body, beeping rhythmically. Beep, beep, beep. That sound filled the tense silence. "Mr. Archer," the doctor said softly, motioning to the window away from bed. Lucy Marie stayed by Agnes, holding her hand, watching her deepening sleep. "Tell me, doctor, what's wrong? What does she need?" "Ask for anything. Bring specialists from Switzerland if needed. Money's no object." Sebastian fired, reverting to old defense checkbook. Dr. Valdez shook his head slowly, chilling Sebastian's blood. "Don Sebastian, some things money can't fix immediately. Your mother—" The doctor hesitated, seeking diplomatic words but opting for brutal honesty. "Your mother is a biological miracle. I don't know how she survived so long in those conditions." "Be clear," Sebastian demanded, legs trembling. "She has severe chronic malnutrition, critical anemia. Kidneys at 40% from constant dehydration." And the doctor paused, viewing an X-ray on his tablet. 3 poorly healed rib fractures and 1 in the hip, old fractures. She must have endured unbearable pain every step. Each diagnosis lashed. Unbearable pain every step. And he'd pictured her in his mind's cozy office while really she walked on broken bones, scavenging trash food. Is she dying?" Sebastian asked. The question vomited from pure fear. The idea of finding her only to lose her same day was unbearable torture. The doctor sighed. "She's very weak, sir. Heart tired. Not just physical. Like she'd resisted on sheer willpower, waiting for something. Now that something happened, her body's allowing collapse. Next 24 hours, critical. If she makes the night, we have hope, but prepare." The doctor left, leaving sepulchral silence in the luxury room. The AC hummed softly. Sebastian stared at his window reflection. Successful man outside, ruins inside. He turned to the bed. Lucy Marie signaled. "She wants to talk to you, boss," whispered Lucy. "She's awake." Sebastian rushed to bed, sat carefully on edge not to jostle mattress. Mrs. Agnes had eyes open but gaze glassy, sitting in Jessic, unfocused, staring at ceiling or beyond. "Mom, I'm here. I won't leave," Sebastian said, taking her hand. Felt it cold despite thermal blankets. "Seb," she murmured. Voice barely air thread. "Remember the cookie tin?" Sebastian blinked, confused. What tin, Mom? The tin box where we saved for your college, she said, smiling at invisible memory. I skipped meat 2 years to fill that box, and when you left, I gave it all. Didn't keep a penny. Sebastian broke down crying. He remembered the box, remembered taking the money without asking if she had for next day's meal, spent it on first suit bus ticket rent. Yes, Mom, you gave everything, and I wasted it on vanity. I owe you all. I'll repay every cent times 1,000. Agnes squeezed his hand with surprising strength for her state. No, money, son. Money spends, money loses. I just wanted to know. Her breathing labored. The heart monitor quickened. Beep, beep. What did you want to know? Tell me, Mom. I wanted to know if it was worth it, she said, turning head to look him straight in eyes. Her gaze regained total lucidity for a second. Were you happy, Seb? Did you achieve your dreams? Because if you were happy, my hunger was worth it. If you smiled while I cried, then I don't mind suffering. Just tell me you were happy. The question shattered him. Final test. He could lie for her peace, say yes, immensely happy. But Sebastian looked at Lucy Marie silently, crying across the bed. Looked at his mother, awaiting response like final judgment. Couldn't lie anymore. No more. No, Mom. Sebastian sobbed, lowering head to rest forehead on her hand. I wasn't happy. I was rich, powerful, feared, but not happy a single day since leaving you. Pockets full, heart empty. Lived in a mansion feeling like jail because you weren't there. It was all a lie, Mom. My success a lie because it cost your life. The following silence terrified. Sebastian feared breaking her heart in last moments, but then felt her hand stroke his hair again. Oh, my fool, Agnes whispered with sweet sadness. Then we must make up time. You need to learn happiness again. And this girl, she weakly motioned to Lucy Marie. This girl knows how. She has light like her name. Don't let her go, Seb. She saw me when you were blind. The monitor beeped a soft alarm. Oxygen saturation dropping. Rest, Mom. Please, no more talking. You must heal. Teach me happiness. Can't leave now I found you. Sebastian begged, panic reclaiming him. I'm tired, son. Very tired. Her eyes closed slowly. But the bed's soft and you're here. No more cold. No more cold. Her hand relaxed in his. The monitor kept beeping, but rhythm stabilized. Though slow, very slow. She'd fallen asleep or entered that borderline state between life and death where body decides fight or surrender. Sebastian froze, staring at his mother's chest rise and fall laboriously. Lucy, he said without turning, pray what you know. Ask your God, the universe, anyone, because if she goes today, I go with her. Can't live in a world where she dies from my fault the day I beg forgiveness. Lucy Marie approached and, breaking last employer-employee barrier, placed one hand on Sebastian's shoulder, the other on Mrs. Agnes's forehead. She's strong, boss. Survived winter on streets. Survived this hot night in silk sheets. Love will hold her. Sebastian took Lucy's hand on his shoulder and squeezed, clinging like an anchor. There they were. Repentant millionaire, kind housekeeper, martyr. Mother, united in hospital room, awaiting dawn, seeing if redemption arrived in time or if death collected the costliest bill. The small hours in intensive care weren't silent. A constant electric hum symphony of machines breathing for those who couldn't. Sebastian Archerman, who usually slept 4 hours deeming sleep capital loss, had sat 14 hours on uncomfortable plastic chairback, curved gaze fixed on monitor drawing green lifelines of his mother. Dr. Valdez had been clear. Night was the enemy. Mrs. Agnes's body waged civil war against decades of neglect, each organ a disputed territory. At 3:17 a.m., the change came. Not explosion, but silent descent. The steady beep, beep, beep began stumbling. Screen lines erratic like trembling hands writing. Mom, Sebastian whispered, leaning forward, cold panic rising from ankles. Mrs. Agnes's eyes snapped open. Not looking at Sebastian, but something above his shoulder, something only she saw in room's dark corner. Lips moved, soundless, chest arched. In painful spasm, seeking air her fluid-filled lungs couldn't process. Lucy, Sebastian shouted, leaning in. Call someone, she's choking. The monitor alarm blared. Shrill, piercing shriek, cutting sterile air like knife. Code blue. Room 402. Doors burst open. Resuscitatio and team stormed in white whirlwind. She's going into arrest, a nurse yelled. Need space, get family out. No, Sebastian roared, clutching bed rail. Won't leave her alone. Mom, look at me, I'm here. "Sir, you must leave or we can't work," a resident doctor said, pushing hard. "If you stay, she dies. Out now." Lucy Marie grabbed Sebastian's arm. He was big, strong, used to imposing physical will. But then the small housekeeper had Titan's strength. "Come, boss," she shouted, tears in eyes but firm voice. "Let them save her. Don't block the miracle." Sebastian let himself be dragged to hallway. Through closing door gap, saw them rip his mother's Egyptian cotton gown. Saw defibrillator paddles metallic gleam. Saw Agnes's small, fragile body jolt violently on mattress from electric shock. Door shut. Sebastian left in deserted hallway under buzzing fluorescent light. Felt emptied, hands to head pulling hair pacing circles like caged animal. My fault, he repeated, punching wall until knuckles hurt. Found her to kill her. I'm damned. Lucy Marie didn't calm with empty words. Approached, hand on back, an anchor in his storm. Pray, Don Sebastian, don't blame pray. Guilt useless now. Faith is. Sebastian stopped, looked at hospital ceiling as if seeing God through concrete and steel. Dug into inner pocket for wallet. Pulled latest gen phone used for $1 million deals. Want money? He yelled at air-raising wallet to ceiling. Take it, take all. Threw wallet hard to ground. Credit cards, platinum cards, bills scattered on cold linoleum. Then hurled phone smashing against wall, falling screen shattered. Removed watch gold Rolex costing more than birthplace house, flung it away. Don't want any. I change everything, he sobbed, falling knees amid scattered fortune. Give my buildings, give Swiss accounts, give my whole life, but don't take her. It was absolute breaking point. The man, thinking he could buy time now, begging impossible deal with death. The man negotiating with financial sharks, now trying impossible bargain with Grim Reaper. Lucy Marie knelt beside. Didn't pick money watch. Hugged the trembling man on floor. God doesn't want your money, boss, she whispered in ear. Wants your heart, and I think he has it. Your mom is fighting. She heard her promise. She knows you wait. 10 minutes passed. 10 seeming 10 years. Sebastian didn't move from floor, surrounded by material wealth's debris. Clinging to the only truth-teller, door opened slowly. Doctor. Valdez emerged, removed surgical mask, sweat drops on forehead-deep exhaustion expression. Sebastian raised head, dared not ask. Fear sealed throat. She's a warrior, Don Sebastian, doctor said, long sigh. Heart stopped twice but came back. Don't ask how medically, doesn't make sense. But back. Sebastian felt air rush back lungs in painful gulp. She's alive. Stable, very weak, induced coma to rest, but alive. Immediate danger past for now. Seems she decided she didn't want to go yet. Sebastian stood staggering. Didn't glance Rolex on floor money. Walked to doctor, and without warning hugged the white-coated man soiling with tears and sweat. Thanks. I'll build you a new hospital. Give whatever you ask. Just go in and hold her hand. Doctor said, tired smile. That's all she needs. Sebastian entered room. Alarm sound ceased. Beep, beep, beep returned. Rhythmic, constant, the most beautiful music he'd heard. Approached bed, misses. Agnes seemed even smaller amid tubes and wires, but chest rose and fell. Lucy Marie followed discreetly, gathering hallway watch and wallet. Not for value, but to save them. Sebastian took his mother's hand, kissed needle-pricked fingers. I swear, Mom, he whispered with intensity, vibrating air. This was the last time you suffered. From today, I'm not Sebastian the millionaire. I'm Sebastian, your son, and I'll spend my remaining days making you the happiest woman alive. He looked at Lucy Marie at bedfoot. And you, Sebastian said, seeing her anew, you're no longer my employee. You're my sister, my family, because you saved her when I was blind. Lucy Marie nodded, silent tears. In that hospital room, as sun rose tinting city sky orange, a pact was signed. No notary could draft a blood and love pact. 3 months later, the Archer Mansion garden bore no resemblance to the rigid geometric one from months ago, where every bush was trimmed millimeter precise and lawn stepping forbidden. Now, wildflowers planted in joyful disorder round the fountain. Life filtered through century-old oak branches. In garden center, where once stood cold metal abstract sculpture, now an object wonderfully mismatched with luxury surroundings. An old wooden table rotted, one leg shorter restored and varnished, but keeping scars and cracks. The alley table. Around it, atmosphere of quiet celebration. No liveried waiters or French chefs rushing silver trays. Air floated with homemade stew-scent fresh tortillas, cinnamon-spiced coffee. Sebastian Archer exited house, but no suit. Comfortable linen pants, shirt sleeves rolled to elbows. Hands held no briefcase or phone. Carried steaming ceramic tureen. Walked with relaxed smile shedding 10 years. Bitterness lines around mouth gone replaced by laugh wrinkles. Seated at old table's head on cushioned comfy chair, Mrs. Agnes. Change miraculous. Gained weight. Cheeks no longer sunken but rosy full. White hair styled elegant bun held with mother-of-pearl comb. Wore blue, floral dress, simple, beautiful. Eyes still age-tired sparkled with mischief and clarity denoting peace. To her right, Lucy Marie. No uniform, dressed like university student white blouse jeans, books on administration and nursing stacked table corner. Sebastian paid her tuition at best university named her. Director of New Family Charity Foundation Agnes's table, dedicated to feeding homeless. "The soup's here," Sebastian announced, setting tureen center old table. "Grandma's recipe. Though Lucy supervised, so I didn't burn garlic." Mrs. Agnes laughed, clear, strong sound. "Oh, son, you're a lion in business, but a disaster in kitchen. Good thing Lucy has saint's patience." "Don't believe it, Mrs. Agnes." Lucy laughed, serving hibiscus tea. "The boss, I mean Sebastian, is learning fast. Yesterday chopped onion without crying." "That's 'cause I cried all I had to," Sebastian said, sitting left of mother. Tone light, but eyes met Lucy's in deep understanding. Past pain transformed to present gratitude. Sebastian took mother's hand on table, stroked pinky scar, old fracture, now sacred reminder. "Comfy mom, want softer cushion cold." Agnes patted his hand affectionately. "Son, I'm in world's prettiest garden eating hot food with my two most loved. If comfier, I'd be in heaven and no rush there yet." Sebastian smiled gaze on old table, ran hand over rough wood. "Sometimes think I should have tossed it," he reflected aloud. "Bringing it here. Ugly remembering where from. Remembering you ate on this wood surrounded by trash." Mrs. Agnes grew serious momentarily, placed hand over his stopping guilty caress on wood. "No, my love, never say that. This table's most valuable in this mansion." "Why, Mom, reminds my shame." "Reminds your humanity," she corrected wisely. "On this table in street, I ate scraps. Yes, but on this table you knelt. On this table you became my son again. This table isn't trash, Seb. It's the altar where you reclaimed your soul. While this table's here, you'll never lose yourself again." Lucy Marie nodded, moved. "She's right. Plus, matches flowers perfect. Perfection's boring. Scars tell stories." Sebastian looked at two women table, understood. Spent life building perfect glass towers, soulless, unimportant to anyone. His greatest treasure, rotted wood plank where he'd learned love. "You're right, Mom," Sebastian said, raising hibiscus tea glass. To the table, and never forgetting. "To family," Lucy Marie toasted. "To love that heals all," Mrs. Agnes finished. Glasses clinked. Crystal sound rang in garden. Sebastian served soup to mother. Watched her eat heartily, clean, safe, loved. Thought of partners, business meetings, stock market. All still existed, but no longer his world. His world ended at that old table's edges. As they lunched, a yellow butterfly landed on Sebastian's shoulder. He didn't shoo it. Stayed still, watching mother tell Lucy childhood story about him, both laughing. Sebastian, Archer man, once thinking he had everything and finding nothing, closed eyes a second, breathed clean air deep. For first time in 45 years could honestly answer mother's hospital question. Yes, now he was happy. The camera pulls back, slowly rising to treetops, showing three small figures around imperfect table. Surrounded by vast garden as sun shines finally promising. Shadowless tomorrow.